No, I am not Almajestar. I am Almajestar004. Please stop calling me Twitter dog whenever I talk online. It's very rude. Hey, what's going on, guys? Almajestar here, 004 here. Today, I'm here to talk about Astroea Unica because there are other people that also play this deck, you know. So, this is probably the last time I'll be talking about this deck due to controversial reasons. But more rather than not, I am also a fan of Astroea Unica. It's basically just MLB, but better, because every deck is better than MLB. And I talked about her in set 10 when she got the Bico Masques support, and now we're gonna talk about her with her latest support in Dbt13. Is this deck good? Absolutely not. Is this deck viable? Absolutely not. But it is still relatively fun that if you still wish to play it, you can play it at a casual level. It can cheese games due to the nature of crit and the fact that Astroea Unica has a relatively good early game with the great supports that it has. In fact, with its newest card, which is Phonographic Opera Star, it's actually very easy to have a very good early game that can push. You no longer have to rely on stupid techs like Clean Sweep Dragon, which is not viable, but you can now actually play faster and better cards to swing. We also did get one more card this set, which is Lindalkia. However, I'm not playing her in this deck profile because we want to focus more on the grind and aggro game of Unica. Lindalkia is actually a Masques support, if you've read this card before, which is a bit too slow because we are not directly going to Mask up. It is way too bricky, way too inconsistent, and you're basically playing a very, very nerfed version of the Jewel. So our TLDR is that there is no Lindalkia in this video. So I just want to put this out there that she's not in this. I considered her, I've played her, I really like her. I think her art's really nice. Thank you to our artist. But no, she's not in this list. The right deck, exactly the same. All the Almajestar units are back. So if you want to see the full explanation of it, just check it out in the links in the description below. I link my previous Bico Masques video there, so you should be able to see it. So Pipis Milche, still the starter. This is Spada. Spada still has the same skill and rolled upon by the grade 2 Almajestar. You soul charge 2, and if a critical trigger soul charge among them, you draw. Then if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, on the rearguard circle, bind one trigger from your soul, and this unit gains 10. Very good way to cheese out to get 4 critical triggers in the bind zone. Basically, that's how your Bico Masques can scale, and you now also have Phonographic Opera Star, who can scale to the exact same ratio of critical triggers in the bind. So, pretty good. Although you rarely use this skill, it's still nice to have. The one you're more concerned about is going to be Tyrann equals Dyna. When rolled upon by the grade 3 with Unica in the name, with Astroea in the name, but you cannot write Astroea Masques because that has a restriction that you can only write it on a non-mask unit. Okay, so when you write it, you basically get an Alfred early. You get to call your grade 2 and your grade 1 out from the right deck. Now I don't know why, for such a powerful right deck with a +2 built in, this deck is not doing well. I don't get it. In theory, this should be freaking amazing. If you told anyone that you have a +2 in the right deck on turn 3, I mean, I'll be pretty jealous too. But it gets even better because your grade 2 also helps your win condition. If your Vanguard is Almajestar, counterblast 1, choose up to 2 triggers from your drop zone, put them to your soul, and this unit gains 5. Wow! The grade 3 is of course still gonna be Unica. She's still very horny for you, but please help her. Her skill is that when you soul blast a trigger, you choose one of your units and it gains 5. Yeah, pretty good. Basically a pocket soul saver. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. When she attacks soul blast 3, and you get and bind all critical triggers involved in the cost, you gain effects equal to the number of critical triggers in the bind zone. 1, choose one of your opponent's triggers and retire it. 2, this unit gets +1 crit. 3, this unit gets +1 drive. It's Majesty Blaster. It's full blast. So it's still really effective that on turn 3, you can swing for a 13k 2 crit 3 drive unit, and you can pass 3 15k everywhere. As long as you just manage to get 3 critical triggers in the soul. This should prelude to you what our mulligan is, that we want to see 3 critical triggers at all costs. So you're going to want to make sure you can find ways to put the critical triggers into the soul and then into the bind zone to pay off for this effect. Soul Blast 3 is not expensive, but it's not cheap either. Therefore, this deck actually needs soul charging to sustain. Because of that, there are changes to this list from the previous deck profile that I made to play around it, to help Unica really cope for current meta. Our current meta is very aggressive, but also has a very good endgame. So as such, what I'm aiming for is to play it more in my MLB formula, the one from 2022, my Dbt13 deck profile. The idea is basically to play aggro, but at the same time, we still have an option to play for a later game. Moving on to our grade 3s, we play 1 copy of Unica in the right deck, and then we play 2 more in the main deck. And then we play 4 copies of Bico Masques, and then we play 2 copies of the Mask of Here to the Gloom. Yes, very bricky, yes, very controversial, yes, I fully expect some of you to be screaming at me in the comments, but I wish to explain. So, Unica is obviously for the right deck, you need it right up, right? This is Vanguard. We play 2 more copies in the main deck. Persona Ride is not really what she's here for. You kind of want to use her to destroy her for the skill of Bico Masques. But it's still somewhat okay if you want a Persona Ride, if you can't go into Bico just yet, or if it's not the right time, or you don't feel you can kill with Bico and you want to just gain more advantage, you can just straight up just go into Astroea Unica as a Persona Ride. It's not the worst option, neither is it optimal, but it's what we need to make the deck work. I feel that at this point in time, just straight up going to Bico Masques feels a lot like a suicide mission, because the second you leave turn 3 and you destroy your one last copy of Unica, you just lose straight away. So just for a failsafe, I'm going to add 2 in. Now you can straight up play this at 4, 3, 2, 1, I frankly don't care, but 3 is the safest number I feel, so if you want to play more conservatively, you can follow me on that. But something that we are going to have to play is obviously the Mask of Future Groom. So long as you accept the Dragon Tree's influence into your life as your Lord and Savior, you're going to need to play this. If you have this in the drop zone and your Vanguard's a non-Masks unit, choose a Masks unit from your hand, superiorite it, and tuck this into your soul. Then, if your opponent is grade 2 or greater, you get a free Persona, right? So, yeah, I mean, you've seen this effect from the show. I don't need to explain this, right? But it also is an order spell, so basically you can play this from your hand, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add a Dragon Tree or a Masks unit to your hand. But it can whiff, so do take note. It only applies to units, so you cannot actually use Mask of Hydra Groom to loop another Mask of Hydra Groom. It's not possible. But Mask of Hydra Groom does have 4 search targets, and that is Bico Masques. Bico Masques can only be written on top of a unit with Unica in its name, so do take note. If you can destroy a copy of Unica from your hand, your soul, or your drop zone, basically just remove it from game, choose one of your opponent's rearguard to retire it, and this unit gains drive +1. I don't know why they chose it to have this skill. The snipe one is fine, the drive one's fine, but the fact that it's tied to removing Unica, which is the most expensive cost in this deck, is very painful, because that's what Unica used to do for free, just by existing as a person. So, yeah, really, there's a reason why this deck's not good, you know. But the last skill, it's still not bad. When this unit attacks, con +1, soul +3, for if you ever hold on, let me take a wait. You can bind all the critical triggers involved for the soul blast cost, and then afterwards choose one rearguards and stand it. For every 2 triggers in the bind zone, this unit and that unit gain 5. So basically, you have 2, you stand it, it gains 5. If it's 4, you plus 10. So like I said, it's exactly the same ratio of power gaining as Opera Star, which is why Opera Star is actually very, very instrumental for this deck, and you will see why in just a bit. Bico Masques is a nice 4 attack deck. However, due to a lack of sustained power, you will need to rely on early aggression. You cannot simply cheese your opponent by doing a Persona Ride clean sweep and then swing twice with a 35 to 45k beater. It does not work. Jujul Mask does the same thing just by wearing his underwear to work every day. So you're gonna need to think of better ways to win, and no calling 2 Gungun Ram to the front row is not qualified as a strategy. Chrono Jet's been doing that. Grow up. Our grade 2 lineup, we play 4 copies of Kit's Peter Griffin. We play 1 copy of Tyrandina for the right deck. We play 3 copies of Skull Camina. And then we play 4 copies of Opera Star. So that's mainly about it for the grade 2s. It's gotten wider but smaller at the same time, because we've cut a lot of the options. Lindalkia was initially played in this deck because she's basically pocket Emmeline for masks. That makes her fucking insane. But the thing is that Opera Star is just so much better, and because we have limited slots for grade 2s, we don't really play that anymore. If we still lived in a world where, we didn't have Opera Star, we definitely would be playing Dalkia. This is also the set where we say goodbye to Burakan, because Burakan is just a 20k beater, which is no longer needed thanks to Opera Star. you're starting to see the pattern of the cards I'm listing here. We no longer play Queen Sweep, or more rather, we never have, because Queen Sweep is disgustingly slow, and he's just too bad. He was good previously, like say, I don't know, 3 to 4 sets ago, not anymore. So you might want to rethink what you're doing with your life's purpose. We're also not playing Transcendent Spear, as well as Orients, the order package. While Transcendent Spear is the countercharger. It's a countercharger for Almajestar, but the thing is that we also realize that that's also too slow because it's grade 3 lock and it's tied to removing an Unica in the right deck. Yes, I actually did play a Unica list in set 11 that revolved around this and Orients. It doesn't work. Nothing works unless you play the deck as God intended. Starting with Opera Star. Opera Star, when placed on the rearguard circle, if your Vanguard's Almajestar is a grade 3 or greater Almajestar, you can count as 1. And if you do, you draw a card. It's really nice. Just CB1, draw 1. It's as simple as that. There is no hidden drawback, nothing. It's just very good. I really like this card because, you know, Unica is not exactly the queen of card advantage. So if you're telling me I get CB1, draw 1 on place, yeah, you're damn right I'm going to take it. During your turn, this unit gains 5,000 power for every 2 critical in your bind zone. So as long as you hit 2, she gains 5. If you hit 4, she gains 10, which is generally what you're going for. It's a 20k beater by herself. Wonderful. Next up, we have Tyrannical Diana. Now, she's really good as a rearguard, which is why I mentioned her skill as a whole. But you want to be careful with the counterblast. Bico Masques takes up 1 counterblast. Opera Star takes a counterblast. So because of that, when you use Tyrann equals Diana, it does matter, so do keep that in mind that you don't actually want to use this counterblast all the time, despite the fact this is one of the best counterblast units in the deck. But if we are going to talk about cards that put triggers from our drop zone to the soul, I want to talk about Kit's Peak Griffin. So Kit's Peak Griffin is a 15k passive and a 10k shield passive, as long as you have a critical trigger in your bind zone. Wow. What are those good old-fashioned values on which we used to rely when we used to have 10k shield units? Where are they? And Kit's Peak is exactly that. When placed on the rearguard circle of your Vanguard's Almajestar, choose 2 triggers from your drop zone and put it into your soul. Wow, it's completely free, and it's a 15k beater, 50k intercept. There we go. Now this is an actually good Almajestar support, and Kit's Peak is still played at 4. Absolute must. It is just that good. Thank you, Peter. And last but not least, we have Dragon Tree Reg Skullcamera. Oh yeah, that's right. He's also another search target for Mask of Hydrogroom. So yes, you can actually search out Skullcamera. I've completely forgot about that. Why? How did I forget that? I'm getting old. But Mask of Hydrogroom is searched out through Skullcamera. When placed on the rearguard circle, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, you acquire a Dragon Tree marker. You know what Dragon Tree marker is, right? I'm not going to explain this skill, come on. And then afterwards, you can search your deck for Mask of Hydrogroom and add it to your hand and shuffle. So the Mask of Hydrogroom is basically half of Force 1. So it helps you a lot for Unica because you do have a restanding rearguard. So you can actually use this skill once to search for the Mask and then you get a passive +5. However, yes, there's a caveat. This is the most expensive skill in the deck for a Counterblast, and a Soul Blast, which is not cheap in Unica. The Soul Blast is very important, the Counter Blast is very important. So Skullcamera, 9 out of 10 of the time is like a vanilla, but the one time that you need to use him to search for the Master Hydrogroom, it is very important. So keep that in mind. Do not prioritize this guy's skill if you already have a mask in your rotation, in terms of already available to you in your drop, your hand, your soul. You don't need to worry about that. You do not. But if you are in need of a mask, look for it. Our grade ones, we play for Perfect Guards. Then we play 1 copy of Sparta. We play 4 copies of Gungun Ram and 3 copies of Twin Marvel. Now, you will notice that this looks very different from our previous Astroea list, and that's because we are adapting to the meta. Sparta is for the right deck, we already talked about her. 4 Perfect Guards because we want to live, so we don't really need to play, we need to play 4 Perfect Guards. If you want to play Sanctitude, you can if you have money. I don't. We cut down Twin Marvel to 3. Twin Marvel was one of the best cards in set 10 in my opinion, but sadly it never picked off as being a great generic, mainly because Violence Bruce is complete shit. But let's talk about it. When your Vanguard pays the cost of Soul Blast 3 or greater, you generally get an effect where you can look at the top card of your deck and put it on top on the soul, and this unit gains 2000 power. It's a great 10k booster, and it helps you get the Oracle effect every check. So you can thin your deck, you can just get free soul charges, or you basically can just leave it on top. It's basically Sargeras, but the thing is that he was very slow for this meta, and sadly he did not manage to live very long at 4 off. So we cut him down to 3 to make in some space for our newer cards. But he's still really nice. If you want to play this guy at 4, I assume you can, but I think 3 is enough because you generally only need about 1 copy of Twin Marvel on the board. Next, we have Gungun Ram, who has been reprinted multiple times, so he's very cheap. But Gungun Ram, when placed on the rearguard circle, you just soul charge. It's as simple as that. And that's what we're here for, because our deck currently is very soul heavy right now. We need to find a way to soul charge as fast as possible, which is Gungun Ram. Then you have a Soul Blast tree to draw 1 skill. You never use that. I'm sorry. If you find an Almajestar player that uses that often, they're probably playing the deck wrong. But you more rather not just want a quick soul charge. This was a slot where we used to play Iram. Now, Iram's gone because he kind of bricked in the sense that if you just don't have triggers in rotation, he doesn't work. Gungun Ram is just a free soul charge. So now that the meta is becoming faster and we don't really have much time to check what we mulligan, or more rather than not be aware of the card options, and we want to go a bit faster, Gungun Ram is generally the safer option for faster play. This is why you see on the internet a lot that there's that play where you spam Gungun Rams on the board and just swing for early aggression. I believe that you should be doing that when you are certain that it will pay off. Do not do that brainlessly for the sake of early aggression and being cool. That's not how this works. If you want to play early aggression, play Stoichia. Moving on to our grade zeros, we obviously play Pipis Molchi. We play E criticals. This is a deck focused around critical triggers, so if you somehow manage to miss the memo that we are playing critical triggers, I am very sorry, but we do actually need them. We don't play that as a starter, but you do need 4 effect critical triggers so they can move themselves into the soul. We play 3 effect draws, 1 over trigger. Dark State's over trigger is generally a good option for the free Force 1 and Force 2, and then we play 4 here. And yes, that wraps up my Unica deck profile, or Astroea, or Almajestar, whatever you want to call it. As I mentioned previously, this deck is nowhere near viable, and I think we all know why. It's just a better MLB, and MLB is complete trash. But there are merits to this deck in the sense that it is a good rush deck. It has good burst aggro if you're, king of shuffling. It does have good support. Phonograph, Twin Marvel, they do go a long way, and it is piloted by one of the sexiest characters in Cardfight Vanguard. Now, I feel that because the draft era is ending, we don't actually know what Unica will get in the future. It is very likely that she will get a promotional card from a magazine or from one of the tournament packs and whatnot. But this deck is not cheap either because of the whole waifu tax, the phenomenon where a female character generally demands a higher paying cost of a deck. So, all in all, I won't actually recommend you to build this deck. If you just don't have that much spare money to throw around. Dark States is the most expensive nation because it's the home to successive best deck formats no matter what. So unless you really like Sophie Belle, you really like this play style, or you just, I don't know, maybe you're just very affluent, then you can go ahead and build this deck. But if you are looking for something cheap, competitive, playable, viable, this is definitely not it. But Sophie Belle, since this may be the last video I do for Almajestar, I love you. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.